Welcome to Whatever You Need, where we peel back the curtain on the images public life sells and reveal the private truths beneath. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, hit the join button if you can to support independent reporting, and don't forget to like and comment, your voice matters. Now, let us begin. A subtle but seismic recalibration appears to be taking place in the life of one of Turkey's most visible actors. For a long stretch, Yaman embodied an archetype, exuberant, charismatic, and magnetic. He filled roles with an energy that made his presence on screen feel effortless and inevitable. Yet sources near him now suggest that the persona that once radiated so brightly has been yielding, slowly and decisively, to a different interior movement, one that aims not to perform but to be. In recent weeks, confidants say, the actor has begun to withdraw from the relentless orbit of publicity. Projects have been paused, promotional calendars cleared, and the constant churn of brand engagements has diminished. This is not simply the rhythm of a busy career slowing, it is described by those close to him as a purposeful retreat, an attempt to re-establish a life in which the public figure does not drown the private self. Enter Sarah Bluma, a figure who, in the mediascape, has been cast as both companion and collaborator. Their relationship was portrayed in magazines and social feeds as an elegant pairing, two polished images moving in tandem, flattering one another and the cameras that record them. Yet beneath glossy frames and curated captions, multiple witnesses paint a different tableau, one defined by misalignment rather than mutuality. Observers close to the couple report that the chemistry captured in stage settings did not necessarily translate into an inward compatibility. What many perceived as intimacy, insiders say, was often an exchange between a person and an emblem. Sarah, they suggest, seemed to engage with the luminous aura enveloping the fame, access, and soft power that come with celebrity, more than with the vulnerable individual behind that glow. The relationship's external perfection, in short, may have been a facade built to look impeccable under public scrutiny. Psychologists and those familiar with celebrity dynamics have long warned that partnerships formed in the glare of spotlight carry particular hazards. A person who is loved principally for the attributes that surround them, the lifestyle, the status, the marketable charisma, can become a repository for another's ambitions rather than a companion for their truths. Sources allege that Can felt increasingly pressured to conform to an image, to perform a version of himself that generated opportunities and applause but left him thin and unsettled. Friends report seeing a man returned from the brink of depletion, less talkative in private, more deliberate in solitude, and repeatedly engaged in questions of identity that cut deeper than career choices. There came a time when he would hush himself of rehearsed lines and really ask, "Who am I away from these lights?" one close friend disclosed. That type of existential interrogation can be a catalyst for dramatic change when the individual chooses to honor its answers rather than ignore them. This process, friends say, has involved reconnecting with long-standing companions, leaning on family ties, and pruning social obligations that felt performative rather than nurturing. There are also signs of greater discretion online, an edited digital presence, fewer spectacle-oriented posts, and a conscious reduction in the kinds of public displays that once dominated his feed. For a celebrity whose livelihood has often depended upon visibility, such a turn toward obscurity, towards the quiet, is itself an act of defiance. While Ken's inward pivot has been quietly underway, the partnership with Sarah reportedly entered a phase of acute tension. Industry insiders claim that brands and agencies, sensitive to perceived vulnerability as much as to marketability, began reassessing their associations. Contracts and campaigns that once seemed secure have been withdrawn or postponed, allegedly because the narrative around the couple no longer fit the commercial script advertisers prefer. The consequence for Sarah, as sources frame it, has been substantial. Without the amplified presence of a partner whose visibility reinforced her own, she has faced a professional landscape less hospitable to the kind of curated romance that once served as an asset. Beyond economic repercussions, the human effect has reportedly been isolation and uncertainty. She, too, contends with the unraveling of a tableau designed for consumption rather than mutual flourishing. It is important to note that the situation invites more questions than neat judgments. Human relationships are complex, and when they unfold under public scrutiny, the contours can be both distorted and magnified. If one party perceives the other as a symbol rather than a person, the resulting mismatch is painful, yet messy public narratives seldom capture private nuance. The testimonies circulating through circles close to can hint at manipulation in the form of emotional pressure and image-driven expectation. They also gesture toward a more compassionate reading, that two people tried to make a life amid forces that often reward spectacle over sincerity. For Ken, the path forward as described by Confidence is a slow work of reconstruction. It is imagined less as a career pivot than as a moral realignment, a redefinition of success that privileges inner steadiness over outward applause. There are intimations of simpler aspirations, a return to the rhythms of home, a renewed appetite for unmediated companionship, and even a modesty in public engagement that aims to shield rather than showcase. Those who have seen him in more intimate settings speak of a man who smiles with a different economy now. The gesture is purportedly less engineered and more spontaneous. Whether this change will manifest in renewed artistic vigor or in a permanent recusal from certain kinds of celebrity performance remains to be seen. What seems clearer is that he is attempting to ground his life on a sturdier axis. We want whatever you need to be a conversation, not a monologue. What do you think about this transformation? Do you believe that stepping back from the public eye is a courageous remedy for burnout, or a risky retreat from responsibilities? Which Turkish celebrity should we profile next to explore the human cost of fame? Share your perspective in the comments. Your insights guide our reporting. It would be facile to reduce this turning point to a tidy moral. Human emergence is rarely linear, it is uneven, layered, and often unfinished. Yet what emerges from the available accounts is a portrait of a person who has elected refusal over capitulation, refusal to be consumed, refusal to trade internal integrity for the brittle currency of continuous exposure. In that refusal lies the possibility of an unexpected freedom, the chance to inhabit a life chosen rather than curated. For Yaman, according to those closest to him, the journey is far from complete. It is a pivot toward authenticity that might someday provide a richer foundation for both art and life. For Sarah Bluma, the next chapter will require finding footholds that do not depend on someone else's reflected light. For the public, the task is to watch with curiosity and restraint, remembering that the images we consume are not the sum of a person's being. Before you go, please leave a comment with the name of the next celebrity you'd like us to investigate with care and respect. Subscribe to whatever you need, press join if you can, and help us keep this channel independent and investigative. Your engagement sustains a space where stories are told with nuance and dignity. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay attentive, stay compassionate, and always ask for whatever you need.